Hello, everybody. It's Veronica Brockwell, and welcome to V Talks. I'm so excited to be back with the ladies from Seahorse Behavioral. Today's topic is ADHD, the original survivalist. So, any of you that have ADHD or know somebody with ADHD, you will find that they're constantly forgetting their keys, forgetting to return messages, forgetting to return emails, maybe having a late night dance party, but they're really fun to be around and they have a big heart. So today we're going to talk to our professionals at Seahorse Behavioral, and they are going to dive a little deeper into what exactly. And Liz, Frank, how are you? Hello, everybody. It's Veronica Brockwell, and welcome to Detox. I'm so excited to be back with the ladies from Seahorse Behavioral. Today's topic is ADHD, the original survivalist. So, any of you that have ADHD or know somebody with ADHD, you will find that they're constantly forgetting their keys, forgetting to return messages, forgetting to return emails, maybe having a late night dance party, but they're really fun to be around and they have a big heart. So today we're going to talk to our professionals at Seahorse Behavioral, and they are going to dive a little deeper into what exactly is ADHD. So please welcome to the talk, Brian Leankamp and Liz Braid. How are you?
Good. How are you?
So, I have a puppy.
I know. It's so cute. Isn't it?
I know. It's a little, right?
And she's looking.
I might just start swinging.
Liz has what, 9 puppies
I do.
at home?
Yeah.
9?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh my goodness. What kind of dogs?
German Shepherds. Yeah.
So, welcome to VTalks. Liz, this is your first time here.
Yes.
So, I want to hear a little bit about, so you can tell our viewers a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So my name's Liz. I'm a psych nurse practitioner and I work at Seahorse Behavioral. Um, I've been a nurse for 14 years prior to this, working everywhere from substance use, mental health in the emergency room. So it's kind of all over. But yeah, I'm relatively new to the practice, but I love it here. So that's really all I have.
Well, I'm so glad that you're here, and of course, Brian Leankamp. Most of us know about your experience here, but for our newer viewers, can you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself as well?
Yeah, so thank you for being back, and thank you to Liz for agreeing to hop on. I think it's something new, and I think it's really exciting, and we get a lot of good feedback. And I'm Brianne Leankamp. I'm an adult nurse practitioner and a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner, and I'm the owner of Seahorse Behavioral.
Well, let's talk about, and thank you for that. Let's talk about ADHD. So I have it. Anybody else in the room have
I do also have it.
it?
I'm surrounded by family that has it.
Okay.
So,
All right.
my son, my husband,
you
the
go.
other family members. So it affects a lot of people.
It does. And, we can have a lot of fun with it and we can make little jokes about it because, there are some funny aspects about it. But it's also very challenging. It's challenging for the people with it. It's challenging for the families, as you said. So we decided that it would be a good topic for today's show. So let's dive right in and talk about what ADHD is. So it's not just about being a distraction. What is really happening in our brain?
Yeah, well, I think, we get a lot of requests for management of ADHD, a lot of requests about people really saying, I'm having difficulty with focusing, concentrating, emotional dysregulation. I'm forgetting things. Do I have dementia? There's a lot of symptoms that
Yep.
go with ADHD, and that's kind of the core of what we see. The focus and attention, difficulty sustaining tasks, having trouble remembering where things are, where they put the keys, to where they put something that is really important. And it can be a whole cascade of events that happens from that standpoint.
And on that point, struggling with tasks that are routine, but then hyper focusing on something that interests them.
Mhm.
Can you touch upon that and maybe explain that a little bit?
I mean, I think Liz, you like we just
Uh-oh. And that way she was like, should I speak up about this?
we just learned we switched our electronic medical record, and
Okay.
like Liz was like, "Hey, like party time at 11 o'clock. Like who's getting on?" And
Well,
so, but it's
yeah.
like it's also like a superpower.
Oh,
You know?
Totally,
100%.
totally. I think that for people with ADHD, right, like normal routine tasks that don't interest them, don't it's not enough like adrenaline pumping. It's not gaining their interest enough. So new things or things that interest them, like topics that specifically, um, for example, a lot of children come in and, you know, history and history is they're doing poorly in history, but they love math. You know, and it's not
But if
because
they loved history, that would be where they were at, right?
100%,
Yeah.
100%, and there's no, like it's not like I think, people with ADHD, especially children, struggle a little more with, like, reading comprehension and, like, math, but, um, I do think that whatever the child is more interested in is where they're gonna put their effort in. So, yeah, routine things just don't always get our attention.
Well, it's interesting because I, of course, did a little digging, and there were some statistics that I found actually from CDC that approximately this is staggering 11.4% of U.S. children aged 3 to 17 have been diagnosed with ADHD, reflecting an increase of a million diagnoses since 2016, which to me is pretty huge. And then, and so, what do you say to that?
I think we see it. I mean, I think we see, especially when school starts, a surge of requests coming through. And, and we were just talking today, and, that's the statistics for children. The adults is a little over 15 million.
Oh
And
my goodness.
what we saw today, I think we both had probably three clients today come in and say, you know what, my daughter was started on a stimulant, which is one treatment type.
Mhm.
I see that her grades are improving. She's doing better in her sport. She's thriving.
Oh
Is
wow.
that something I should do? And sometimes maybe they were treated when they were younger, teenagers in college, and kind of just came off of it as you develop your own skills and routines. And so I think we're more aware of it and we're more able to kind of say, "Hey, can I can I come get evaluated too? This might be something that could help me too."
Mhm.
So I'd also like to clarify the terminology. I've been doing a lot of research on the topic since I was diagnosed. Can you tell our viewers what is neurotypical versus neurodivergent?
You know, I look at it as this, like, when someone meets the norms, like your community norms, your standard, you're more on that side of the neurotypical side. It's what most people do, it's how most people function. Whereas neurodivergent, something is different. So, how you developed, in utero might have been different. There's genetic factors, there's environmental factors, there's a lot of things that can go into that. And, and it's a spectrum. Like ADHD is part of that. And then some of the learning components, dyslexia, Tourette's, autism. And, and then there's like a whole subgroup too of this overlapping with even when we see like early onset dementia or severe depressions. What is hit in that? And it's focus and concentration. I'm having trouble at my job. I can't really function. And, so I think if you can kind of separate it down really to that level, it makes it a little bit more understandable with that, something is different. It's but what is that different and where is it on that spectrum?
So tell me about the tell me about dopamine
Yeah,
and
a lot with
the
it.
a lot about dopamine. So what I've researched is that uh, as a person with ADHD, I cannot regulate my dopamine. And
Right.
is that can you elaborate on that a little bit?
So like dopamine plays a role in like motivation, and essentially in people with ADHD, there's an imbalance of it.
Mhm.
ADHD also impacts other neurotransmitters, but dopamine's the one it impacts the most.
Mhm.
Um, that's kind of like a general without getting too wildly detailed. Yeah,
Right.
And
Oh,
so, like, a lot of what we do is trying to replace that.
yeah.
So, if you're low on dopamine, we're trying to target that. And then, norepinephrine is also involved in that. And so glutamate is also involved in that. And then you have like some serotonin components, and in this circuit of, your brain is working a little bit differently. Well, guess what? Like, so is the firing of the neurons. So is the balance of these neurotransmitters. So, we'll kind of talk about why we use some medicines that target norepinephrine versus dopamine versus, maybe a different class of medicines. But this is why people might be the daredevils and the hyper focusing. And, I'm going to the casino every night and, I'm trying to win money. And, it's your reward. It's your reward center and it makes you feel good. So you're trying to bring it back.
Hmm.
so I think on that, I would like to I think I missed a little segment here, but I want to kind of go back just notes right here. I want to go back a little bit because I want to talk about the primitive brain because I've been doing a lot of studies on that. This is more of a primitive brain that's trying to function in a modern world. What are your thoughts of that?
I think it's like ADHD, but also anxiety too. When you think about a primitive time, hunting and gathering, running away from things, you're trying to survive.
Yes.
That was the goal. And if that's your day all day in and out and you're running in the case of ADHD, it's more of I'm keeping everything inside. I'm
Yeah.
not going to let people see that I'm disruptive. I don't want to get in trouble at school. I'm going to keep that inside. Whereas like our anxious people are like, I'm running, I'm running, I'm running. And they get home at the end of the day and they're exhausted, but they can't sleep because their brain is still like, we got to run, we got to get away from it. And the ADHD brain is more of, let me like keep it all in. But like, then what happens when you get home from school as a
Well,
child?
and and let's be honest, I don't think, when, back in the day, it was ever intended that we were gonna sit behind a desk all day, right?
Mhm.
I don't think our bodies were ever meant to do that, and I'm sure over time, we have adjusted some of us have adjusted to that, but maybe not all of us. And uh, would you consider that maybe that is what ADHD is that we do have more of a primitive brain and haven't really adjusted so much to the modern way of sitting behind a desk and being on the computer all day? Is that a possibility in your eyes?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's
Yeah,
totally different. It's a different way of living in life. And, I think
right?
looking at like our kids during COVID to like now and
Yeah.
how they adapted and that socialization and the breakdowns and the emotional disruptions when they would come home from school after being in a classroom setting all day and not getting breaks. And, it's
Yeah.
like, as a parent, what do you get? You both have this diagnosis. Like, how was it when you guys came home from school?
Pretty bad.
Pretty bad. Like, what was that like for, like, your
Well,
parents,
yeah.
your siblings, like,
Yeah, I was like pretty disruptive um when I was younger in school, just hyperactive, not really able to sit in my chair. Um and it was really I think it's really important to to bring attention to the parents' role in this because I do think that it's really huge how they handle it in terms of the like success of the patient, right? Like the parents and making behavioral modifications really can impact someone's success. And I think for my parents, like my mom was very, very involved and was like, okay, reading up everything she could learn about it, going to the right doctors and kind of trying to figure it out, but not overly focusing on it. Right. So it's kind of like a balance. Um, and then setting me up for success with making me sit down after I got home from school and do my homework and at the kitchen counter and being available for support, like giving enough, but not too much. And I think that's a hard balance to find, but um, it can be super disruptive to the whole family, so reining it in early is really important.
I completely agree. I grew up completely differently. I'm much older, so I remember there was one kid that had ADHD, and he was on Ritalin, and that was the only kid I knew
Yeah.
that had ADHD,
Yeah.
and so obviously I had it, and a lot of other kids had it, I'm sure, but they weren't diagnosed, and no one, it was a completely different. School was completely different. Those things weren't really recognized, and it was good luck, and so my parents, were like, "That's just how she is," and, I would be really good at certain subjects. I could care less about other subjects. I had a really hard time focusing and reading and just trying to pay attention and do my homework. I was tired all the time. I felt like odd duck. I didn't fit in. Like, I just and I think the other thing that now looking back, um, I was I was always like the term masking, but I was always trying to cover things up and watch people and go, "Okay, this is how you're supposed to act. This is not what I wanna do right now, but this is how you're supposed to be." And, you know, I it was probably pretty exhausting.
Mm. Yeah.
It was probably very exhausting for me. because but it was that much of a challenge. And it's funny because I've never been medicated and I've learned through the years how I have coping mechanisms. I make a lot of lists. I make fun of myself. I know when I'm having an ADHD moment. Um, you know, so that's great. But before I found out that I had it, it was very different. When I found out that I had it, I was like,
Yeah.
phew, there's a reason. Why, like, and I do believe it's a superpower because I can get the work done of
Mhm.
10 people in
Mhm.
30 minutes. I'll wait till the end. I know it's coming. I know. And I'm like, I always get it done. It's always done well, but I work really, really well under pressure.
Yeah.
It's a very strange thing, but it's just how I'm wired,
I know.
you know?
I'm always impressed with Liz and all like, the note's done. It's this and that. And like, give me this first. Give me this. And, and I'm a little bit slower with that. It takes me a little bit longer. I'm trying to like multitask a million things and,
But we
so
need you.
Yeah. Yes,
No, right?
we
Don't
do.
we need her?
100%, 100%.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
wonderful marriage,
mhm.
actually,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Because, there are times I have several friends that are just slow and steady wins the
Yep.
race and they hold me back, but then they're like, "Go ahead." Like, you know? And it's just it works out really, really well. And I
Yeah.
think bringing attention to it is even
Yep.
more important
Yeah.
because now we're just starting to understand each other,
Yep.
and I love that. So, did we digress? Probably because I have ADHD, but we're gonna
I'll keep
okay.
us in check. I'll keep us in
Okay,
check.
where are we? Oh, why do
Um,
we procrastinate? We sort of started there, right? Is that what's next? Or did I
mm,
miss what?
what did you said it. You
There.
both kind
Yeah.
of said it. If
Yeah.
we save it for later, it's like your brain is getting that drive, that reward, that dopamine. Like now I'm under the gun. Now I really have to get this done.
Yeah.
There's a deadline here.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I like this is what I'm gonna do. And this is just how it is. And I'm getting it done.
But
Where
why do we do this to ourselves? It's really unbelievable.
Yeah, it's
Like,
exciting.
it is, but I'm like, why?
Yeah.
You have known for 4 weeks. Why? Why?
Yeah, but
And
it's that
sometimes, like,
level
I
of the
have a
brain.
meltdown. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. I'll get it done. I'll
But the
have a meltdown,
dopamine in your
everything.
brain isn't enough to push you to do it. You
Mhm.
you like you have to get to that level for it's like a thermometer. And like the heat is on, the pressure is on. You see the thermometer rising, the dopamine's rising, and now you're like, all right, now I have the energy to do it. I can pull an all-nighter. I can get this done. I
Mhm.
can, where, most people don't do that. You wouldn't want to put yourself in that situation because it's so stressful. And some people do really, really well under that stress, but some people crack and then
I'm
they
running
drop
from
out
the
of school.
tiger.
They can't do
I'm
it.
running from the tiger.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's
See,
for the positive.
but it all makes sense though, right? Like you're running from the tiger and we have to be built to have that adrenaline dopamine thing going on to run from the tiger.
But
You're
then
not
you're
worried
creating.
about but you're not worried about the future. You're worried about the current situation. The situation on the ground is there's a tiger.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
But then from that, like you get your stuff done and then you're like, well, like I could do this and I can do that
Yeah.
and I can start this business and I can do that and we should do this and we should do that. And that's
Yeah.
like that's the superpower of it. That's
Yes.
really where you can just say, okay, thermometer's up, dopamine's up. What am I going to do with this? And now I have all these like amazing ideas.
And then you wake up the next day and these lists of all these other things.
Starts all over again.
Here, here we go
There we go.
again. All right. So, okay. So, we talked a little bit about the evolutionary context, right? We kind of went through that a little bit. We just went through it a little bit early because, again, I have ADHD. I want to then talk about this is important because I don't know a lot about this because I have not been on medication. But I want to talk about this because this is what you do. And I want to hear, and I want our viewers to hear what's available to them and what kind of treatments that you guys do over at Seahorse that are so helpful.
There's so many. I mean, maybe we can break it down. If you want to talk about the stimulants, then maybe I can talk about some of the other things. But, there's so many choices. I always tell that to people. It's like trying on a pair of shoes. How many times you go to the store and you put on a pair and you're like, "This is amazing." It's never like that. This one's too
Right.
big. The left one, my foot's bigger. This is this. So, I always tell people there are so many choices. If the first one didn't work, do not feel like nothing's going to help you. So, we'll kind of talk about the stimulants first because that's kind of like the gold standard when we're looking to treat like our younger like patient population and even adults. Like most of the studies show that really is what's gonna be effective later on in life too.
And can I just start really fast by saying to our viewers that medication, if you look at it like medication for ADHD is like getting a pair of prescription glasses, right? Is that the best way to explain it so people aren't fearful?
I mean, yeah, I would say that, and I would say that it's like getting a medication for high blood pressure or diabetes or, anything else, right? So
I
I
think people are afraid a little bit about going on a medication for something like that, you know? Not everyone's comfortable with that. And, I've done my research on it and that was kind of my conclusion that it was like, you have can't see, what do? Get a pair of glasses, right? Like pop in some contacts and all of a sudden you can see. And
right.
it resonated with me, so I just, from somebody that would be nervous about taking medication, it resonated with me, which is why I'm kinda tossing it out there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I think there's a lot of options, right?
Mhm.
Other than just like the stimulant class, right? Like there's
Yeah.
non-stimulants that they use that people are successful with.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of generally different options that when you have a pediatric patient that comes in, right? They
Yeah.
we try everything before we try a stimulant. It's generally the last on the line. Um but we go through there's a list of safe medications and some are in different classes like blood pressure meds and but have been shown to be effective with ADHD.
Mm.
And we kind of trial all those first, and it also kind of helps us kind of further confirm, a diagnosis that like, if the ones that are a little less if the ones that aren't stimulants are a little less strong, right, aren't doing anything, I mean, it's safe to say this patient probably has, a higher severity of ADHD and they're kind of on the higher end of it. So I think the nice thing about these meds is that you don't have to wait 4 to 6 weeks to see if it's going to work. It works pretty quickly. If it's something that works for you or if it doesn't pretty quickly, and you can stop it if it doesn't. And that's what I tell my patients all the time, right? That are nervous about taking medications because a lot of them are, right? A lot of them want to know if they have it, but they're also super nervous about starting meds. And I say, like, listen, we're gonna start with like the lowest possible thing we can and we'll check in weekly and see how we're doing. And if it doesn't if it's too much or if you don't like how you feel, we stop it. And there's no harm there, right? So that's how I approach it with my patients.
And what can someone with ADHD expect to feel and how when they start taking medication? Like how long will they notice a difference and what sort of differences will they notice?
I think that I think that I think it's different for children, right? And adults. I think it's pretty evident in children when it's working, when grades are improving and focus and attention. Um, but for adults, I think just the ability to kind of focus on one task. And it's, I have patients that come in and often say to me, I drink a cup of coffee and it calms me, right? And and I could take a nap, right? Like, so that's also like, well, that kind of screams ADHD to me too, right? So, right.
I can sleep after.
Yeah, like it
Can
should.
everyone?
Yeah, yeah, I know. I mean, I can't too.
I
I
don't
can't. Like,
like
what's
I
the
would
point?
be
Like,
on if I like I'm drinking tea right now, it's 5:20.
Oh, no.
I could easily be up at 1 o'clock trying to make a reel because I can't sleep.
oh my
And
god.
my husband can have
Yeah,
an espresso at midnight and
yeah,
be out.
yeah. No, I could fall asleep in a half hour. It's just not the same. And I think for people that have ADHD, it almost, hyperactive people, it's gonna slow them down and allow them to focus, but still be efficient, I guess is a good way of explaining it. And then the inattentive type, it's just gonna refocus their attention, give them one pathway to kind of focus on one task at a time. Um, I guess that's the way I could explain how it would be to take a medication and how you would notice a difference. And a lot of people on the outside, your family's gonna notice a difference. Um,
Because the stimulants are really like giving you that dopamine back. Like your brain is needing something and we're giving it back to you. So I think like the prescription glasses is a good analogy. I tell people if you broke your leg, you're not walking across the street without crutches. So
mhm.
these are your crutches. Like sometimes for some people that can't fully do it with behavioral modification or non pharmacologic interventions need a set of crutches to help with certain tasks. And I think what's great about this class of medicines too, with the stimulants, is that you can use it as needed. We use it in people that are, maybe college students who are like, I don't need it every day. I can sit in class and, you know, I really like that class. I don't need help with that, but I sit down and take a test and my mind's everywhere because I have all these thoughts and
Well, it's overwhelming, and then you
super
overthink
overwhelmed.
every
Yeah.
answer.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So what brings
You
it
heard me, right?
Yeah,
Over
every
the
answer.
answer.
yeah. Well,
And
you do it so fast, like, you go through it so fast, you have to be the first one done. I just have to do it, I have to be the first one done, so you're not paying attention
it's
to
it's so weird.
give it the time, take a
Mhm.
second, think about it. That's not on your mind, you're just like, "Let me whip through this and be the first one." So, that class of medicines can really help with that. And
So
then
you can have medicine that you only take when you need it.
mhm. Yep, you can take a short acting medicine like Ritalin or methylphenidate. It's in and out of your system. But say you need a longer time for that medicine to be in your system, you could take a long acting. I mean, there's countless formulations that you can go to. If that's not enough, there's another level. It's like climbing a ladder and you get things that are stronger, but then you might have that really anxious person who's like, I cannot tolerate a stimulant. I just can't. I have more of an inattention. This is really revving me up. This is an awful feeling. And sometimes we use things that more target like the norepinephrine. So it's targeting the anxiety, the focus and concentration. And then in the kids, like Liz said, sometimes we want to protect, the cardiac status. With the heart and the blood pressure, and a lot of these can increase the heart rate. So, that might be uncomfortable for somebody to feel like their heart's racing all the time. And, some kids can develop tics with the dopamine and the stimulants. So, as a parent, like that was really big for me. I didn't want like my kid's growth to be impacted. I didn't want my kid to potentially even have a risk of having tics. And, but it's also a disservice sometimes for some kids who really have to deal with all the inattention, difficulty focusing, feeling like an outsider, feeling like something's wrong, being the bad kid. It's weighing all that because I think, as you said, Liz, not everybody has that parent who's like,
Mhm.
I'm here to support you. I'm here to help you. How do we get this work done? How do
Yeah.
we fall behind? How do I keep you from being so overwhelmed? You're just ready to throw in the towel.
It is a good thing to see, though, that the schools have programs in place now because it wasn't like that. And I think that's super helpful.
Mhm.
don't you?
Yeah.
There's still a
That
long way to
now,
go, though, I feel like, in the school
yeah.
system. I think there's still a long way to go because there are supports, but sometimes you have a kid who really likes what they're doing, and sometimes those supports are taken away because they
Okay.
have a really great set of teachers maybe that year, or, they have somebody that is supporting them, and then maybe the next year they don't have that, but now maybe some of those supports get taken away. Or, there's maybe not as much oversight as to more frequent check-ins. How are the kids doing as they get older? It gets harder. School gets
Mhm.
harder. And
Mhm.
there's more support, but it's not so much that maybe they don't have all the support they had as kids.
The other thing is, so now I start like going off topic. You'll learn this, Liz.
These are
Turn in
tough.
our
Yes.
talking point. So, anxiety. Do you think that some children are misdiagnosed with their general practitioner and given anxiety medicine when they probably have ADHD?
Yeah. Yep. I do. I
I,
think I think that, and this is solely my opinion,
yeah,
I think
this is
that,
it is.
that I think that, with when you're looking at pediatric patients, it's really hard to decipher anxiety, mood, depression. It's really hard to decipher those. I think ADHD is one of something that should be treated first, right? It allows us to see where everything else falls. Um, I think oftentimes we're getting into these, like, really, you know, these rabbit holes with these diagnoses on these children, and it does more harm than good. Uh,
Yes.
so I think it would I know a lot of pediatricians are probably nervous about, d even evaluating children for ADHD, but, I think that's kind of the first thing that they should be looking at and, ruling out or ruling in, before moving on.
Because sometimes it's caused by that. If you have a child with undiagnosed, unmanaged ADHD, they are an anxious kid. I can't get my work done. I'm overwhelmed. I can't get my work done. I'm a procrastinator, so I'm not going to get my work done like everybody else is. I'm going to wait till last minute. I'm not going to study. Like I got
Now I'm
this.
going to have anxiety. Now I'm
Yeah,
going to have a
Yeah,
meltdown.
yeah,
yeah,
and
And then
laughing.
let's talk
Yeah,
about emotional dysregulation. There's like
oh,
that
yeah,
whole part of it.
oh,
yeah.
yeah.
And then you're keeping it all in. So you get home from school and you're like a terrorizer, and you're, terrorizing your family and the kids and you're impacting everybody else. And you
100%
control it. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
awful. Like it's
It's
awful.
awful.
Like awful.
Yeah. Lots of
And
crying.
so I think it's
Yeah.
like you don't really know. You have to kind of put it in that place. And let's face it, I think just like ADHD, we see more bipolar. We're getting more bipolar diagnoses and oppositional
Yeah.
defiance and, more autism spectrum disorder. And, when you kind of put all these things into like, little buckets, like these buckets tend to spill over into one another. And now you really have to tease them out. And it's hard to diagnose somebody if they have a mood disorder. We don't want to give them stimulants because then they're going to have that worse effect. But to Liz's point too, sometimes with the kids, sometimes this is the lesser of all the evils. We know that maybe it's a little bit more risky in kids to do antidepressants and the risk to like flip their mood or cause some like thoughts of like self-harm. And it's there's these medicines aren't without any risk. And at least I think with sometimes at least the trial of your ADHD medication, sometimes there is that little bit of a less risk for that. There's, other risks in other ways, but it's a quick way to see, do you have it or do you not? Because
Right.
it's hard to get testing in a timely manner. And do you really want, if it's your child waiting a year on some wait list to see if that's truly what it is when all the boxes are being checked?
Mhm.
So, what about the squirrely brain? Does this help with the squirrely brain?
The
Do you have a
squirrely brain.
squirrely brain? Squirrely
Yeah.
brain.
Because
It's
the
just
squirrely brain's
all
from like the dopamine. it's again, like, you need to put it
Like
back.
all
So
you're just like 50 thoughts going
Oh, yeah,
on.
always. Yeah, always. Yeah,
I
no.
call it squirrely brain.
Yeah, no, medications definitely do help with that.
But how? How do they organize it?
It slows it down a little bit and, it definitely puts it into lanes for you.
Yeah. We're back in our lane.
Yep. Yeah.
Yep.
It's,
All my tabs are open. Like I have 20 tabs open.
I still do that. So that has not
Like
changed.
during the podcast, I'm thinking about all the everything. I'm looking around.
Yeah.
I'm like
Yeah.
sitting here, like I'm focused. I'm tapped in, but then I'm looking over here, and then I'm checking on the puppy,
Oh,
making
yeah.
sure she's not going to start barking. I'm looking
Yeah.
over at the dog. I'm looking at the sun. Is the sun down so it's not putting a glare? Like it's a sad state of
yeah,
affairs.
you guys
Yeah.
are the gaslight.
And the idea is, right,
You
to
don't
like
do this, Bria?
I know, she
You're
does it.
just tight. You're just like right here with
I'm
You're just
going like
right
60
here.
miles an hour in the right lane, like,
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
just like right here. Liz and I are like,
past me. Yeah,
But
no,
like you said, it's
no,
needed.
my brain doesn't work that way. Like, my
Yeah.
brain doesn't work that way,
how
and,
does that even feel?
I know.
it's quiet. Like, I feel like, I
Tired.
I do, like, I feel for people that have ADHD. Like, it's exhausting. I
I'm
feel like
sweating right now
it's
just
a lot.
just talking about it. I'm sweating.
Really, it's a lot, and,
Could be the lights are hot.
I don't know, like, what that's like,
Yeah.
I really can, like, put it away and,
Yeah.
it's my brain's pretty calm. I think I'm a pretty calm person because
You are.
I don't take it all in because that's not how my brain works.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I have a couple more ADHD things, and I've done it like 5 times today. I interrupt.
Yeah.
Very
That's
ADHD.
common. Yeah. Very common.
I don't mean
Activity.
to. I get okay. I'm going to explain it to you. I get so excited.
Yeah.
Like it's just like it's like comes out and I think I'm afraid. I'm because I want to say something that's relating to what you have to say. It's not even competing. It's like some people might think it's competing or one up. It's like, no, I'm right there with you, sister. Like I'm like so excited and I want to like jump out of my body. I get so excited. So I like and then I'm like, "Bean, I have so little inside my voice. I'm like, "You're too
But you're the fun people. Like, you're the
no,
fun people. People are drawn to you.
like, I am being so real right now. I don't think I've ever been this real. So,
Mm.
like, anybody that watches is just gonna laugh
Yeah,
and go, "Oh my god,
like,
Lord."
that's like the frontal part of, like, the brain, right? And your, like, emotions and regulation and impulsivity comes
Yeah.
from that. Like, that's
Yeah.
that feeling that, people are drawn to people like you. I'm kind of like a corner person, like, shy, more like, I don't know, like, I'm not gonna speak up, and so I think like that is like another like superpower that people should embrace, that you have that ability. At school, I think again, it's something when you're younger, don't speak up. Like
Oh,
don't like that's, that's not your time. Wait your turn.
stop talking.
Stop talking. But really
No, I like it.
but it's really like a really helpful people skill later on in
Yeah.
life if you really use it to that advantage, because people are more drawn to someone who is more outgoing, more, has these ideas, like, you want to talk to other people. There's a
Oh,
lot
I
of
love it. I
benefits to that.
love people. Like,
Me too.
people I do. They give me dopamine. Like,
Yeah.
having a conversation with people gives me dopamine. I just love it, and I get super excited. But I know it's the ADHD because
Yeah.
I know it's gotta be.
Well, it's like you have to get that thought out, right? Because you're like, I have to get this thought out. Like I have to. Like that's
Because I'll explode,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
It comes deep inside,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yep.
Right, Liz?
No,
How
totally,
does it
totally.
feel? How does it feel?
Yeah,
How does it feel for Liz?
I,
Fun? Aren't you glad you're here?
I'm so happy I'm here. I actually really enjoying it. The lighting's
You
great,
know
so
what?
You look amazing.
I
I
know.
think I think it's interesting because when I was younger, I was like interrupting, right? Like interrupting, not raising my hand, all that. And then as I got older, I was really, really nervous about doing presentations and being up in front of crowds, which is so strange to me because in a group of small people, I would be very outgoing. But in front of a huge class, it was like, no way, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Like, even, taping a video for when I was at Regis for NP school, I was like so mortified to do it until I finally was like, no one's watching this. No one's gonna watch this. No one's gonna listen to this. Just
I
put
would have
put it on.
panic attack.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when I was a little girl, I was a singer and I was a baton twirler. Like I used to
Wow.
be in parades and all very confident, right?
Okay.
I could be up on stage. If you put me in front of a classroom,
Mhm.
I would have I
Yeah.
couldn't even speak.
Yeah, it's so strange. It's so strange.
It makes no sense, right?
Yeah. No, it doesn't.
Makes
It doesn't.
no sense.
But what do you think?
Now
Like your
I
brain, like,
Yeah. True.
like, what if I get up there and I don't remember what I'm saying?
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking. I'm gonna get up there and not
yeah,
remember what I'm saying, which is very likely.
Which
it's
is very likely.
Yeah.
It is very likely,
Yeah,
just
it is.
because that's how your brain works.
Yep.
That, if you don't take the time to know that material and you don't take the time
Mhm.
because you're a procrastinator and you wait until
Yep.
the last minute, it's not ingrained in your brain. You're
No.
not the person that studied for 2 weeks to get out
Right.
there and do that presentation. I studied for 20 minutes last night or 10 minutes before I'm going to get up here, and let's hope for the best.
Mhm.
yeah,
Mm.
that's I know where we're at right
Yep.
now. I have a story to share that I just remembered that I'm gonna pull out of the vault when I was in the 5th grade. But it's sort of telling as to the what do you call it? It's not really a condition. It's what is it? What do you call ADHD? I don't know. What do
Yeah,
you call it?
Yeah.
condition. Yeah, I would say
Condition, right?
condition.
Whatever. All right. So I got so our school, it was actually SIPCAN, is putting on Peter Pan. And I was the understudy for Wendy. And I was in the 5th grade and Wendy was the 6th grader. But I didn't get the part. So what happened to my dope?
Yep.
Um, the girl that got it deserved it. She's amazing. Whatever. Doesn't matter though. I lost interest, right? But I went to all the rehearsals. I did all the things. And now remember my job. I'm the understudy. What does that mean?
That means you should have
Yep.
known
Yep.
every everything,
Because why am I an understudy?
just in case.
Yeah.
Just in case what?
Just in case
You have to be
later
Wendy.
gets sick.
Yeah.
You're in the spotlight.
I think I had to do maybe one practice where we did a scene or two. I never, ever, ever took the time to learn my lines. And I remember when it was time to put the show on.
Oh boy.
I mean, can you even believe this? I'm going to put this. I'm so sharing. I don't know. My teacher's going to be like, what? And I remember all of a sudden, the night of the show, I don't want to say who it is, but the girl was late.
Oh
And
god.
I was like, oh God. Because they were like, Veronica, you might need to do and I was like hiding, oh my God, I don't know the lines. I know. For the whole play.
Yep. Because you lost interest.
Yeah.
Because I lost
You
interest.
lost interest, and that was it.
And I've got ADHD.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yep.
Can
My
you believe it? I thought about that the other day.
I totally believe it.
What?
I don't. Because you lost interest and it didn't matter to you.
And
You
you
didn't
were
care anymore.
where would pick on me?
Yeah, but who can make
Sad.
you do that? Like your parents.
No one even said, do you know your lines? Just in case. Do you wonder, what's saying anything. This was
You
the time we
might have even gotten the part and lost interest halfway through.
Yeah.
To be
Oh, I don't
honest.
know. I don't
To be
know. I think
honest.
I would have been that I don't know. That may have been I would have had anxiety
Oh, right, right.
over
Yeah,
that.
I
Yes.
have to.
See what I mean? Like that
Yeah,
piece. I think
yeah.
that would have given me the dopamine and the anxiety to keep going with it. But I don't know. I just thought it was a funny story to share 'cause
But I think that
it's
that, like,
hilarious.
goes to show,
Yeah.
how it is these things that can change the brain. I'm interested and I can hyper focus and I can be amazing, or I totally don't care and I'm not going to do it. And give me enough, whatever.
Yeah. And I didn't have an attitude about it. I think it was just like I
Yeah,
have other things.
whatever.
I
Yeah.
showed up for practice, but I never had to practice.
Bottom line.
I love it.
Can you
What?
imagine?
No,
Can
no.
you imagine? All a full house and Wendy shows up.
Thank God Wendy came.
I know, I know, I know. But like that's the neurodivergent brain. Whereas like if you didn't have ADHD and someone was the understudy, they would do the studying because it would always be in the back of your mind. This is what could happen. I could be in this position. What if I'm in this position? I have to plan out A, B, C, D. What are all the things that could possibly happen? And with you, you're just like, all right, she's got this. I don't need to
Yeah,
learn it.
maybe I could have crammed like the night before, but I couldn't cram that night. But anyway, yeah. All right. So let's talk about some fun stuff because we'll go on for this. We've got the late night dance parties.
Yes.
Liz, do you experience late night dance parties?
I don't know if they're dance parties, but I definitely I
Mhm.
guess Brian pointed this out to me because I didn't actually really even think about this.
Yeah.
We have switched our EMAR system. So yeah, I do get a little boost of energy for the end of
A little.
Dad. I find it really frustrating when I can't figure something out.
Mhm.
And I think when I was younger, I would have just kind of been like, yeah, okay, uninterested. I can't figure it out. But now I'm like, no, no, I can figure this out and I need to figure this out.
I love
So
it.
that's kind of how my brain works now. It's kind of adapted and progressed and changed where if I can't understand something, which our new system is a little challenging, so we're trying to figure out everything. I won't stop with one thing until I can figure out how to do it.
It's like borderline obsessive, like
Yeah,
borderline.
it is pretty obsessive.
Well, that I know, but that it's giving you dopamine, right?
Yes, 100% every time.
And it's like productivity. Like
Yeah.
you feel good because it's like, all right, I got this.
Yep.
And and there's obviously benefits to that. But
Yeah,
like I always say, like nighttime's the time to shine,
right.
and that's like homework time. That's like creative time. And I think like as a parent, like that's important to recognize that this is a phenomenon. And if your kid comes to the table to do their homework at 11 o'clock at night and they're motivated and they're excited
Let
about doing it,
them.
let them. Let
Let them.
let them. And and like, we talked about this whole phenomenon, like let them and this whole thing right now, let them and and that is a let them type of a thing because
Sure.
you really do. Like there's something that's tapped into that brain, that procrastination brain that's that same type of drive you get doing it last minute is
Mhm.
kind of that same type of feeling that they might get later on at night when they're ready to do it. It's on their terms and they're ready to do it because they feel more confident to do it at that time.
Yeah, so I like to break out the dance moves late at night. Like it's the weirdest thing, and it gives me dopamine. I don't know, like I could be ready to go to bed. I'm like falling asleep, whatever, and then a song will come on, and I'll be like, yeah. And I'm back in the 80s doing my thing, dancing around, singing. Sometimes if it's a hair band, I'm like, just having like a total like dance party. Happens all the
Love
time.
it.
And I have been talking to a lot of people that have it, and people are like embarrassed to even say they do this. And they're like, what? Oh my God, I have ADHD. I do that. I started looking it up and it's like a real thing
Oh, yeah.
because we have so much anxiety all day long, but when it's time to wind down at the end of the night, all of a sudden we're like it's like we can be happy almost. It's
Yeah.
like we can relax and be happy. And it also dancing gives you dopamine.
And like glutamate, and
Yeah.
that's like there's
Explain the glutamate.
so glutamate is kind of like the neurotransmitter that we're talking about right now. That is more of what we're finding for like neuroplasticity and neural connections is from the glutamate. And when you're exercising and you're getting like some of that energy out, people feel good. Like
Oh
that's
yeah.
what it's targeting in the brain. And when we really look at really treating depression nowadays, that's really what we're doing. We're not really treating so much the serotonin anymore or the norepinephrine
Interesting.
anymore. We're really like switch gears to the glutamate because we really do see a faster effect on managing depression and in turn anxiety as well. So it really is more effective. And I feel like that's really where we're going to see a lot of treatments starting to target even more the glutamate.
Hmm. Interesting. So, give us, Liz, do you have any stories, like little ADHD stories for us, or like little ADHD isms?
Um, so I actually messaged my mom today and I was like, "Can you tell me a good ADHD story that you have for me?"
Yeah.
She only had a couple. She did keep a book when I was younger, but I don't know if you guys had like when you guys were in like kindergarten or middle school, if the bathroom was in the room, like the classroom. Was it in the room?
I did in kindergarten.
Okay, okay. So maybe yeah, so maybe it was probably like kindergarten, yeah. So we had a bathroom in our room in kindergarten, and I was, like, obsessed with these like, smelly markers, I don't know, like,
Yes,
strawberry.
what was it with the smelly marker?
I don't
Is
know.
that ADHD too? Is it, or is it just
It might be, it might be.
you were fine when we were fine with the
Yeah,
smelly marker?
yes, they were the best ever, the smelly markers were the best.
Rian,
I
I
don't know
need
what it was, I don't
what was that ADHD or
it must have been.
Like I was not into
So there
sniffing
we
the
go.
spelling markers. I
I can't
wasn't.
believe you just said that.
I
Yeah,
wasn't.
no,
I
it's
All
wasn't.
right. Anyway, I am so sorry. Go on.
no, no, yeah, they're the best. So I was obsessed with the smelly markers, and I had like my pink was my favorite, or red, or whatever it was. I don't know what remember at the
Did they
time,
smell
but
different?
Yes.
yeah, they all smelled like I think
They
red
all
was
have
like strawberries, and then like
Oh,
yellow was
okay. I see. All
lemons.
right. Okay.
Um, and so I like my class, like everyone was like sitting like for a lesson or something, and look, the bathroom was right there. And I like went into the bathroom, like I was going to the bathroom, and I came out with like the red lipstick on my face, and I just thought it was like the funniest thing. I was like, "This is hysterical."
Yeah.
Well, my teacher was not happy because all the other kids thought it was hysterical, and I think and she was, like, mortified, right? So, like, they looked at this and they were like, "Thank God she had, like, a pretty good sense of humor," and she was like, "Okay, like, this isn't terrible." But I feel like nowadays it would be like, "Lock that kid up." Like, "What is that kid doing?" Right? Like, and I think that's when my mom was like, "All right, wait, like, we have a problem here," right? Because like, I'm not interested in what they're teaching. I'm doing whatever I wanna do. I'm making a joke out of it. I wasn't, like, rude, but I was definitely, like, not paying it I wasn't interested in what they were doing, right? It wasn't interesting me. Um, so I did the ADHD testing and, that was confirmed. But I feel like that would have been looked at a lot differently
Yeah.
by different teachers, right? Like,
Mhm.
it could have been like, "Oh, this is, ODD," or right? Like, just a number of things, right? So, that
And
was
I think that's a good point, like the ODD point.
yeah. Yeah, my mom was mortified, totally mortified. I had it, like, on my face when I came home still, like, it was
ODD.
yeah, she thought it was funny,
What is
but,
ODD?
oppositional defiant disorder.
Oh, thank you.
And and
Yeah.
I and I think a lot of kids get put into that bucket because like you're witty, right? You're funny,
Oh,
you're
Yeah.
fun
hilarious.
for a group of kids. And
Yeah.
what would like an authoritative person think about that? Where, oh, did you put this in its place? And like, oh, well, what place? It's like you can give it back and you can do it fast and it almost looks like you're being defiant, even though like you're being you.
Yeah.
And, and I've had kids come in here where like the parents are like, oh, the school wants them to have a med change, get started on a med. And I'm like, well, what are the circumstances from that? Well, they were like talking back, in this way. And, but I'm like, and even the kids are like, but that's like me. Like, you're going to take me away from me.
Yeah.
I didn't mean it in that way. And that there's a fine line between that. And there's a lot of ODD that is part of this ADHD
Hmm.
piece, especially when it is like you have your inattentive, your hyperactive, and you're combined. And when you're like more of a hyperactive and you're witty and you're funny and you're being you, you can almost get in trouble for that and then feel bad about being you.
100%. Yeah. 100%.
Yes,
Yep.
I completely agree,
Yeah.
and I think that probably is a fear too, that like if you go on those medications, are you not going to be you anymore? And that's like, that makes me sad, to hear that, is
But
that
it's like but it's who's doing it. These are
Yeah.
things we do all the time. Like we
Right.
were trained to do this all the time. If
yeah.
you're going to another provider who doesn't do this all the time, yeah, you might get put on a dose that maybe isn't the right dose or the
That's
medicine.
what I think. I think that happens a lot. That's
Yeah,
why
it
we've
does.
had this discussion before, and I know, like, you guys have to be careful about what you say, but I don't. And I just think, well, I don't, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
I just think that these primary care physicians, I'm not saying, I don't know what, and I don't know that much about it, but I just think that they're just given pills, and I don't think they have enough expertise in some of these areas to be doing that, you know, I don't
Yeah.
know. And
Sometimes
that's
it's
just,
the time. We
yeah, 100%. It probably is time. I
it's
don't know, but
time,
it
it's
doesn't matter.
then
Yeah.
there's so many factors in this healthcare system
Yeah.
right now. It's so broken.
Hmm.
At a pediatrician office, like I have a new provider here who mainly focuses on pediatrics. And, she's like, yeah, the doctors are capping at like 25. And I'm just like, 25 kids. We see like 14 in a day. We're like, that's a lot. Like, whoa, 14
That's
people in a
unbelievable.
day. And
That's
so
unbelievable.
I can see why, you know, there's a different way of doing things.
And how many hours is the office open?
That would be like your 8-hour day. But
And then
that's a
and
common.
break,
Yeah.
and bathrooms and breaks and all that. So how many kids an hour is that?
Yeah. That's like you could be doing like a 15-minute visit every, 15-minute visits and 10-minute visits. And our model is totally different. If you're coming in here, we're spending an hour the first visit with you or more. We put time in the day where if we start you on something, guess what? You're coming back in a week, not 3 months when I hope to get you in for a visit. So it's really a broken system, but it is important to go to a specialist because there's less likelihood of something like that happening where you can properly get to know your patient and tease out, is it an anxiety? Is it a depression? Is it a mood disorder? Because you get to know them on that level and see them in a more frequent basis for longer periods of time.
So, let's talk about, uh seahorse behavioral and what you do, because there are, I mean, this isn't for everyone obviously, but at least for people in Massachusetts and Rhode Island, and if you're outside of that area, at least people will know what to look for, but you have the ability to diagnose people, right,
Hmm.
virtually and in person, correct?
Correct. Yeah. And I mean, this is something new. And I don't know if Liz kind of, being ADHD, like having that, like, I'm going to learn this whole system tomorrow and I'm going to do it in, 5 hours is, you
Yeah, did
know,
you read up on it yet, Liz?
Yeah. So we offer like an ADHD testing, testing. It's FDA approved. It is a it's different for pediatrics and adults. It varies like a little differently. Pediatrics, I think it's like 30 minutes. Adults, it's 20 minutes. Um, and it essentially creates like a report that we can review, and it's almost instantaneous. The patient can take it from home on their laptop using a camera, and it measures attention, activity, hyperactivity, and impulse control. And so, really, those are three main traits of ADHD, right? So, it really simplifies it for us, creates this report that we can visualize and understand. Um, and, it compares it. So, essentially, their results are compared to a sample case of someone their age, their sex, um, that doesn't have ADHD. And so, you can kind of see the differences in the reports. Um, and so that's something that allows us to get patients in and out, and be evaluated, not have to wait, like Brianna was saying, like a year to get a neuropsych test, and whatnot, which takes a while. I think it takes even
Wow.
long to get a thorough and good one. Um, some of the NP consult plates are like they're dwindling, they're overwhelmed, right? They're getting a ton of referrals. So it's really hard, especially for a lot of people don't wanna or don't do pediatrics, they don't specialize in that, right? So that creates an even longer list, I think, Brown, right?
It's very hard to get in. There's a lot of variability. Um, and neuropsych testing is really important. I feel like there is a
Yeah.
lot of value in that. Some colleges will require that over the
Yep.
testing that we do. So, if someone is positive for ADHD, sometimes that's all they want to know. There's no other behaviors going
Yeah.
on, there's no anxiety going
Yeah.
on, but when someone comes in and they're, having a lot of emotional lability and I'm crying one minute and I'm sad the next minute, or, I have this really like, trauma history that kind of intertwines in it. We send people out for neuropsychiatric testing to do a diagnostic clarification. That helps
Yeah.
us more with choosing a treatment plan. But
Right.
this is a really great way to get people in and treated sooner than later. And sometimes that just might be a behavior plan. Let's learn some coping skills. And we'll do an 8-week coping program, which also has been studied, vetted, researched, where you learn like, what do I do when I'm wanting to speak out and blurt out? What do I do when someone makes me really mad because I wanted to be first? What do you like? They're real life scenarios. I gave the answer. Yeah. Or I didn't get upset.
Because
And then
other
like,
people are deserve the answer too,
yeah,
Veronica.
yeah. You don't care. Like your brain doesn't care. Like you feel that.
It's like,
You feel that.
yeah,
And you're more sensitive to that. Like if something doesn't go your way, you're gonna respond differently. It's like the whole world might feel like it's ending because you didn't get picked first.
well, I'm better about that now, but when I
Yeah.
was young, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But why wait all that time to
yeah.
learn these
Well,
things
I waited a long time.
when we can identify it now
Yeah.
and get the brain where it's developing and learn and try to teach these skills now so that other things can be focused on later on.
Yeah. No, that's one reason I wanted to do the show because, not ever knowing and not ever being medicated. I mean, I'm one of the lucky ones. I had the wherewithal to at least problem solve and figure out like
Mhm.
what I needed to do, but not everybody is that way. I also I know that there are people that go through a lot of highs and lows, and I really didn't go through that. I had a this might make more sense to you, but I had a functional medicine doctor do tests on me, and he said my serotonin was extremely high. He's like, "You must be the happiest person on the planet." So, but not the dopamine. So that he said that probably offset that part. Does that make sense to you?
Mhm.
It's why I didn't have the highs and lows, but with ADHD, it's my understanding you do have a lot of highs and lows typically, right?
Well,
So,
we see a lot of bipolar with ADHD. Like
okay.
we see a lot of autism with ADHD. We see a lot of bipolar with autism with ADHD.
Oh my God. Yeah.
There's, and I think that goes back to the point of knowing who you are. Like that
Right.
test is such a great tool. But you coming into my office or Liz's office and you can't sit still and I can see you. It's not through like, we really try to get people back in the office. Everything's not just on a Zoom. I can see you. I can see you fidgeting. I can see how you respond to me. I can see these emotions. I can
It's like you're
you
this
I
whole
can just
time.
like climbing up the walls.
You don't even know. Like
Like
I've got
climbing my
I have
like
such a handle on it, but I'm literally sitting here with my feet planted on the floor, and then I'm crossing my leg, and then I cross it the other way, and then I'm holding my hand this whole
Yep,
time during this whole show because I have to stay still and I have
yep.
to be a young lady.
And that's like
It's
part of the
challenging.
testing that is really like,
I know. Go ahead.
but like part of that testing is like the camera kind of has all this sensitivity and it can monitor your movements while you're taking the test.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's really cool. It's a very
I love it.
simple test. I think it tests exactly the focuses it needs to and does it in a just enough boring way where people with ADHD wanna go crazy by the end of it. Um, and it's very simple to interpret for us
Yeah.
and explain to the patient. So, um, yeah, we've had a lot of people do it so far, and I think it's super helpful. Like Brian said, I think with younger kids without a diagnosis, it's definitely still important to do like neuropsych testing for that if you need it for school or you need it for IEPs or whatnot. But this is definitely something that can be in addition to that, or help kind of people that are older and kind of curious what's going on.
So, if somebody wants to learn more, what should they do? Visit your website?
Our
Is it on
website,
there?
yeah. So
Because I
right
can.
now, that's the easiest thing to do. Call the office, email us, go to our website. We do a rundown of, really want to make sure it's someone who has that criteria. Obviously, we don't want people to go through it if we're like, you're just really anxious right now, or you're
Right.
really depressed and, your screening scores for depression are really high. It sounds like maybe this is what's going on. Or, especially with adults, there might be like substance use or a history of that. And, so you have to kind of figure out what's going on first before you can jump to that. It's really, we try to rule out medical, we try to rule out what other things could it be. But if you are here and I can drink coffee at night and my time to shine is at 11 and,
I
I'm
love dancing at 11.
yeah, so the ADHD, like you're a candidate.
Like, right now, I'm just sitting here like, "Don't touch a soul." Okay, because that's what I'm gonna do when I get off this
Yeah, but even like,
off the show. I'm just gonna, like yeah, because
but
I've
yeah,
had to sit still. The classes are 90 minutes
yeah,
now. Did you know
yeah,
that? Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
but
I would die.
yeah.
Yeah.
But there's other
Um,
reasons too that it can look like that. Like people that have had chemotherapy, people with autoimmune disorders, post COVID, they might have had childhood ADHD symptoms, but you certainly can have impacted focus and attention from
yeah.
other things. And so I always like to put that out there too, that you might not test for ADHD, but the medicines to treat the focus and concentration can improve your quality of life. So I really think that's important for people with fibromyalgia, people with just, I have no motivation to get up. I am, having these other things going on in my life that, you know, these medicines can really be helpful for that, for people with sleep apnea who have daytime fatigue. We really try to look at the whole picture here. It's not just here's your medicine, call it a day. We do therapy in your visits with your medication management. For some people, we do a lot of therapy actually. with medication education. So, I think there's just so many factors, so many factors.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to thank you too. And it was actually really nice to have uh, an ADHDer and a non-ADHDer here
Yeah.
because you can definitely see the difference. It's not only between me. So Liz, you're on medication, right?
I am. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so she's medicated. I'm not.
Yeah.
And they just, yeah. So pick which,
Yep.
here you go, right? But no, seriously, I'm making jokes because that's what I do, right?
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, that's just what I do. Uh,
I
but
feel like
in
you're
all
doing fairly well, though. I feel like,
oh,
yeah, you're,
yeah, because we're
I
on.
know. I don't,
There's dopamine right here,
I'm just
right?
giving you a hit of dopamine, just throwing it that way.
Yeah, there's dopamine right here. That's why it's all doing great, right? It's not, you didn't get the part and now you're up for you didn't study your lines, Still, it's not so funny. But anyway, I thank you so much. You guys are amazing. Anybody that's listening, if you have the opportunity to go to Seahorse Behavioral, they are wonderful, compassionate, my friends. I love them and highly recommend if you live outside of the area. I'm sure, Brian, you have resources, right? That
Yeah.
maybe you can direct people. You probably have a lot of people in your circle that you can
Yep.
direct people.
Yep. Psychology Today is a great resource, www.psychologytoday.com. And, I think we do have a lot of contacts, where we can help refer. And I would say we do try to go that extra mile. If someone
You
calls
do.
or needs help, Kyla will research. She'll get like a list. And most places, they don't even answer the phone, to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
Yeah.
They're so busy, they don't even answer the phone. And, I think that's how we do get a lot of clients because we're here every day and we have someone that answers the phone. And not only does she answer the phone, but she will try to help you if we can't help you.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, you ladies are amazing, and I very much enjoyed it. And we're back in business. We're gonna do some
Do
more
it.
shows. Liz, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for so much for having me.
All right, I'm gonna knock you guys out and say my goodbyes.
Okay.
Okay.
All
Enjoy
right.
So
your
thank
dance
you.
party tonight.
Yeah.
I will, and my new puppy.
Yeah. The puppy.
And your puppies. You have new
Oh, too
puppies
many
too. So
puppies. Yeah. So many
yeah,
puppies.
I have one.
One
All
of
right. I know.
Bye.
Great. Thank you, Liz. Okay.
Bye.
All right. Bye, Rian.
Have a good night.
You too. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I hope you enjoyed our segment on ADHD. Um, we will be back with another podcast soon. And again, thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.